My name is Laura Maggino, and I am a general and pancreatic surgeon from Italy. I completed my residency at the Unit of General and Pancreatic Surgery of the University of Verona, where I later achieved my PhD in Health and Life Sciences. And during my training, I also spent 1 year as a research fellow at the University of Pennsylvania and obtained a master's degree in biostatistics. My research interest is mainly focused on the pancreas, so particularly pancreatic ductal adenocarcinoma, but also cystic neoplasms and surgical outcomes of pancreatectomy.
General surgeon, currently based in Germany, south of Munich. I have a particular interest in colorectal surgery and complex abdominal wall repair. And I'm one of the 3 current editor assistants at the BJS Open. I did my training for the most of it in Sweden until 2018. Moved quickly back to Germany for a couple of years, then to the UK, where I worked for Professor Smart, Neil Smart, at the Exeter Hospital, and then moved back to Germany in 2022-ish, if my mind doesn't fail me too much. And exactly, that's where I'm currently, and picked up my consultant post last October.
My name is Young Lee. I'm a chief general surgery resident at McMaster University, and I have an interest in minimally invasive surgery with a focus in bariatrics, foregut surgery, as well as advanced endoscopy. I'm actually pursuing a fellowship training in early August 2025, an advanced MIS and surgical endoscopy fellowship at Cleveland Clinic.
So I've always been passionate about clinical research and writing, but although I have reviewed many manuscripts and written several papers myself, I have always been curious about the process behind that submit button. So I think it is that curiosity around the editorial process that attracted me to this position.
My interest was sparked by exactly this imagination I had about, like, for one thing, really understanding the editorial process from within, and that is, as I said, very much beyond what everybody more or less knows about the editorial process. How are the discussions going face to face? How are decisions made when the editors are discussing certain topics? And that is really what interested me to exactly understand what are they doing, why are they deciding to do X and not Y, and then also to a certain degree improve myself as a scientist, because you get a completely new perspective if you understand the editor's view, and that is not to please the editors or to do something because the editors wanted to do, rather than that the editor's job is to pick out which papers are interesting and to make them even more interesting. They're very helpful in improving the articles they review and really making it into something that is interesting to a broader readership. So this is also helpful from an author point of view, because you know exactly what you could do to make your science even more easy to read, and that is what it should be about. It's not just about our research, it's about the readership.
So I applied because I'm always been interested in the concept of evidence-based medicine, specifically, of course, evidence-based surgery, really fostering excellence in surgical research, education, as well as improving clinical practice through research. And founder of evidence-based general surgery, also known as the EVIGS working group. And I've always thought that understanding and knowing the inner workings of a top-tier journal like British Journal of Surgery and British Journal Surgery Open would be an invaluable experience to not only explore what is out there, but also reflect on my own research work and portfolio and improve it further. And also thought it'd be also a great opportunity to meet with world leaders in specific surgical subspecialties and work on them together to improve scientific publishing as a whole.
So I basically loved everything about this year as editor assistant. I think this position really gave me the opportunity to get a grasp of the editorial world at many levels. So first, you see how manuscripts are handled, like how decisions are taken on whether to accept or reject a paper, how reviewers' comments are interpreted and acted upon. And this was, like, for me, it was really interesting. And then second, you are trained on how to edit papers to help them reach their best possible version for publication. And personally, I really enjoyed this task, which I didn't even think it was an editor's job before this experience. And then, of course, by attending editorial meetings, both online and in person, you get a sense of the vision behind the journal. So why a journal does what it does. And this was really fascinating. And then, of course, on the personal side, you get to know a lot of interesting people. So there's this community of experts who are not only super skilled, of course, but they're also passionate and welcoming. And I really had the feeling that they cared about what I had to say and that they wanted to help me grow. So, and this was really an amazing part of being an editor assistant. As I was saying, I really loved the editing task. And during my rotation at the BJS Open, I had the chance to work under the supervision of Ville Salinen, the editor-in-chief, and we really edited manuscripts together. And this was an incredibly enriching experience for me, and I loved it.
So what I got out of the research or the editor assistant bursary so far, which is just a little over half a year into it, is number one, really like understanding the editorial process more than you can understand it when you read on a paper or hear during a presentation what it's all about, because very much is, of course, the day-to-day work of the editors where they handle the papers, but huge amount of work is also done during the editor meetings where you have those lively discussions about papers that are for discussion, that could be published or could not, where you discuss the way forward, where are we heading in the next couple of years, maybe even next decade. So all of that is something that you can't transport. This kind of discussion, this kind of in-depth insight is nothing you can grasp from a PowerPoint presentation or from reading an article about what an editor does. So that is very helpful. Then, of course, the whole networking. I mean, you hear about all those pretty famous surgeons a lot, and then sitting with them at the same table, talking to them directly, networking. That's really giving you the impression of standing on the shoulders of giants, because you suddenly are amongst them. And that is also something that is really like astonishing, because you're not like an observer from the outside or someone who's just like coming as a student. You're immediately part of the team. So they're explaining a lot. They're encouraging you to do projects. They are interested in your ideas and what you can bring to the team. So this is a very interactive relationship, and it's not an outsider observer post. It's really, if you want it to be, a very interactive process.
I think the biggest highlight for an editorial assistant position would be to work alongside world-class researchers who are leaders in their own respective surgical subspecialty, and editors and editor-in-chief who sort of stay in their forefront of surgical research and innovation. So I think that was the highlight and the most rewarding part. And I have learned lots of skills regarding critical evaluation and review of peer-reviewed papers, more so than I ever could, being on the editorial side of things. and more practical manuscript editing, review, and scientific communications. And I think it ultimately reinforced my commitment to advancing evidence-based surgical practice and mentorship and teamwork in research.
This is an easy one. So my message for all the people interested in the position is to go for it, because this is amazing. So I think being an editor assistant not only gives you the chance to understand the publishing words, but also connects you with really inspiring people. And the other thing I wanted to say is that it might not always be a straight path. Like for me, this was my third attempt of getting the position. So even if you don't succeed the first time or even the second time, my recommendation is to keep trying, because if you think this is the right opportunity for you, don't give up. And I can guarantee it is worth the effort.
So my main message, if you wanted to become an editor assistant for the BJS or BJS Open, is to think well what you could bring to the post, what could be of interest to the editorial team. Be maybe brave enough to state something that is a little bit more extraordinary in terms of interesting, because the numbers of applicants is high, so everything that stands out catches interest, I would guess. And what I said, I had applied, I think, 3 times. This was my 4th time. I think be persistent. If you want something and if you want the bursary, just give it another go. Maybe not every year. Try to improve your CV on points that are helpful, like I don't know, involving yourself into some research that could be beneficial in an editorial role as well. I mean, the understanding of that, publishing something of interest for the journal, just to make them aware of that you have those skills. Make yourself interesting and be persistent in applying again if you fail, because from what I understand, as I said, the field of applicants is quite large, and the applicants are all, or most of them are excellent. So if you read the names that didn't get an application, weren't applied, those people are still fantastic. So I think it's sometimes even luck that makes you become an editor assistant or not, because at some point the editors have to decide, and it's just marginal, the differences, I think. Just try again.
So if you have passion for surgical research, critical appraisal, and academic collaboration, and really interested in how you can improve your own research or your collaboration outside of your institution, I strongly encourage you to apply as an editorial assistant. I think being an editorial assistant is an excellent way to refine your research skills, gain an insight into the publication process of the best surgical journal, and contribute to shaping the future of how good surgical literature come through the journal. And I think it is a unique and rewarding opportunity to engage with the editors, both in person and virtually, and engage with, most importantly, high quality research while making a meaningful impact on the surgical community and the product that comes out of BJS.